Hi, and welcome to Chapter 1. I want you to imagine something for me before we start. I want you to imagine that you are 32 weeks pregnant. You're excited, genuinely, deeply excited, but underneath that excitement, there is something else, a low hum of fear you can't quite name. You've been reading everything you can find about birth, and some of it has helped. A lot of it has terrified you, and it's 2 in the morning and you are lying there wondering if your body really knows what it's doing, wondering if you can really do this. Now I want you to imagine you have someone in your corner, someone who has seen hundreds of births and isn't afraid of any of them, someone who can answer your text at 2 in the morning, not because they're on call, but because they actually want to know how you're doing, someone who will be right there with you during labor, not checking the monitors and walking out, but staying the whole time, reminding that you are strong even when you've forgotten, making sure the people in the room hear your voice too. That's a doula. And you, the person who's watching this right now, are about to become one. And that is not a small thing. So let me start with the simplest possible definition. Here's what I tell people when they ask me what a doula is. A doula is a trained professional who provides continuous physical, emotional, and informational support to a family before, during, and after childbirth. That is the whole job in one sentence. Continuous. 3 kinds of support from before the baby is born through the early days after. If you can repeat that back to your friends and your family and the curious stranger in the coffee shop, then you're already further along than most people reading their first doula book. The word doula comes from ancient Greek, and it means a woman who serves. And one of the earliest times in the world that we actually see that word written down is in the Christian Gospel of Luke. There's the story in that text about the young teenage Mary who's from a poor community, pregnant under what might be called mysterious circumstances, and she then travels across the country to her cousin Elizabeth, who is also pregnant under mysterious circumstances for the first time, and she's alone and afraid because at that time her husband Zachariah has been struck mute and can't say a word. So Mary, a teenager pregnant herself, leaves her home, travels to another country in the hills of Judea to reach her cousin, and she stays with her cousin for 3 months. She serves her cousin Elizabeth through her pregnancy, through birth, and the early days with that new baby. She had very little, but what she did have was more than enough. And that story is where our organization, Mary's Hands Network, gets its name. The free doula support that we provide is named for the teenager who walked for days to serve someone who needed her, with nothing in her pocket but everything in her hands. And in the original Greek of that text, the word used to describe that kind of service that Mary offered is the root of the word we use today, doula. The word fell out of common use for a long stretch of history. Then around the 1960s, named Dr. Dana Raphael was struggling badly with breastfeeding her own baby and was developing postpartum depression as a result. She was telling her struggles to an older Greek woman, and the woman listened and then said, "What you need is a doula." And then she explained to her what a doula is and what a doula does. From her own community, trained in birth, in feeding, in early newborn care, there when she needed it. It was the first time that Dr. Raphael had ever heard the word, and that conversation launched the research that became modern doula care today. The more modern profession built on her work very quickly. The International Childbirth Education Association, ICEA, was founded in 1960 to bring evidence-based childbirth education to families in the United States. And in 1990, Doulas of North America, now called Doula International, was founded by Dr. Marshall Klaus, Dr. John Kennel, Phyllis Klaus, Penny Simpkin, and Annie Kennedy. Klaus and Kennel are the same researchers whose work on mother-infant bonding helped prove that continuous supportive presence during childbirth changed outcomes in a way that medicine could not explain alone. So the role goes all the way back. But the modern profession, the credentialing, the training, the research base is only about 3 to 4 decades old. You're entering into this work during one of the most exciting moments in its history. Okay, I'm going to tell you the single most important idea in all of Chapter 1. The one that I want you to write down and put it somewhere that you will see later. Pain will not kill you. Suffering is miserable. Pain in labor is purposeful. It's the body's nervous system saying something Something significant is happening here. The cervix is opening, the uterus is working, the baby is descending through the pelvis. Research has actually created an acronym for it. PAIN, PAIN. It's purposeful, anticipated, intermittent, and normal. Suffering is a different thing entirely. Suffering is what happens when pain meets fear or loneliness or loss of control or the feeling of suddenly being unseen or unheard. Two women can be at the exact same moment in labor with identical physical sensations and yet have completely different experiences. One could feel supported and informed, and after birth might say, well, that was intense, that was hard, but I did it, I was strong. Whereas the other, who feels alone, might think, nobody explained what happened to me. Every contraction felt like something was going wrong, and after that birth, she would say that it was traumatic. Or I felt like I was dying. It could be the same pain and yet a completely different experience of suffering. So here's the line that's going to define your job. You're not pain elimination specialist. The pain of labor is purposeful. It's doing real work. It's also not yours to take away. What you are is a suffering prevention specialist. Write that one down too. A suffering prevention specialist. That is the job. You reduce fear through education and presence. You stay with her so she's never alone. You offer comfort measures that restore a sense of control, and you make sure that she's treated with dignity. That is a doula's work. That is what changes outcome. Now, here is the other big idea I want you to leave chapter 1 with. At Mary's Hands Network, we talk about the support system around a mother using the image of a nest, because that's what it is. A nest is not made of one material. It's woven from dozens of different things. Each one is contributing something that the others cannot. Your client's nest has her partner in it, her family, her medical providers, her midwife or her doctor, her nurses. It also has community resources like WIC or food assistance, mental health support, and then her culture and her spiritual community. And it has you. Notice what that means. Your role is not to replace any part of the nest. Your role is to help weave it together. You are the thread that runs through the whole thing and helps hold it together. And let me tell you, the evidence behind this work is overwhelming. A 2024 study in the American Journal of Public Health looked at over 7 Medicaid enrollees and found that those who had doula support had a 47% lower risk of a cesarean delivery, a 29% lower risk of preterm birth, and were 46% more likely to attend their postpartum checkup. And the Cochrane Review, which is the gold standard of medical evidence, looked at 26 studies across thousands of women and found that continuous labor support shortens labor, reduces cesareans, reduces the need for pain medication, and dramatically improves how women remember their birth. This is not soft work. This is not just being kind. This is clinically significant, evidence-based, life-changing care. And the world is finally catching up to that. Right here in Louisiana, private insurers have been required to cover doula care since January of 2026. 26 states plus DC now cover doula services through Medicaid. And United Healthcare just announced national coverage through employer plans. You are entering this profession at the exact moment the systems are starting to recognize it. The work was always worth doing. Now it is paid work, recognized work, and the families that you will serve need it more than ever. So that is chapter 1. Read it carefully. Sit with the pain and the suffering distinction. Sit with the evidence and sit with the nest. And before you move on to the work practice, I want you to do one more thing. Before you move on, I want to leave you with one question to carry you into the rest of this chapter. What kind of doula do you think you want to become? Not what you think you should be, not the answer that sounds impressive, the one that's already forming somewhere inside you right now in this first chapter. Notice it. Write it down if you want, and we'll come back to it. I'm so glad you're here, and I will see you in chapter 2.